everyone. Welcome to Education in Focus, powered by Africa's Women Foundation. And today we have a very important guest with us. Mr. Abdullahi Sale he wears many caps, and we're just going to allow him to just speak to us on the areas he wants us to highlight, and we'll just ask him to introduce himself. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me on your show. You said I wear many caps. Yes, I have many caps. Different colors, yes. Yeah, but for the purpose of this interaction, I think I'll just be speaking to those that concern me. I found myself in the education sector some 23 years back when I was working with Ambassador Professor Mary Lar, who has service of education. He's a professor of curriculum development, who runs an NGO called Anti-Mary Literacy Project. I found myself working with on that project, and I think I just developed interest for education, having myself been a beneficiary of education. If you look at my background, where I come from, at a disadvantaged part of the country, I think education has really done much for me. It has changed my perception about life, and therefore, that's how I joined some education platform like Sakefa, which today I sit on the board as the national moderator and also the FCT focal person. I'm also a member of the alternate school program technical working group, which the president launched last year to see that that the number of out of school is reduced drastically. So I'll stop at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So you see that I'm so right that he wears a lot of caps. So he has highlighted the ones that he feels that is relevant for our conversation today. So thank you so much, sir, for honoring our invitation. The focus, why we decided to embark on Education in Focus is to bring experts on board to discuss education, because we know that our country is, in fact, for the citizens of Nigeria, they have declared a state of emergency in the education sector. Even though the government have not declared it yet, but for the citizenry, there's been so much clamor that there should be a state of emergency declared on the education sector. Because like you rightly said, sir, you've benefited from education in this country, and we have seen that over the years that the quality of education in Nigeria has nosedived, and it has ripple effect on our development as a nation and the place that our country sits in the Committee of Nations. So it's important that we focus on education. If we want to get it right as a nation, I think it's high time that we put education on the front burner for all actors and all stakeholders to know that really education in Nigeria is at that state of emergency. And the first question we would like to ask you this morning, sir, is, like we said, building that background about the state of emergency of our nation, education sector, there's a lot of issues over the years. How that we have refused to focus on the quality of education, and we have migrated to, this emphasis on certificates, emphasis on degrees, and all that over the years. And it's not about how education has impacted you as a person, but what you have been able to. Yes, we've seen the ripple effects that this has created in our system. Now we are preparing a generation as the leaders of tomorrow. How do we, as a nation at this time, create a balance between educating our citizenry, our young generation, for future leadership, and this line that we are towing towards certification? You have a bachelor's degree, you have an honorary or higher national diploma. Is it all about that? How can we balance this?
Thank you very much. You brought in, you raised quite a number of issues within the context of this discussion. Really, certificates are necessary to prove that you have gone through that program. It's just something to show, just like getting a receipt for a purchase of a vehicle or whatever, a proof of ownership. When you say I own this, this is the proof. However, I think the use of certificates in Nigeria is what is raising concerns, because everywhere the world over, you study and you get a certificate for it. But just as I said, the way we use certificates in Nigeria is what raises concerns. Because of the issues that we have, the issues bedeviling the country, where there is where the system is corrupt, where there is where there's high competition for little, people tend to now go the extra mile to do things that they shouldn't. Take, for instance, our parents got jobs without certificates. I knew that. They got jobs because of what they could do, and because actually the jobs were there. There was need for the capacity they had. But now you find yourself in a system where the jobs are no longer there, and then you're desperate for it, and then you're now told, okay, some measures are being put in place so that we can weed out some people and get the right people there, and then you just find out that you just want to do everything possible to get to where to get what you want. Therefore, people now go out of their way, pay for certificates or whatever, because somebody there is willing to help them, even if you cannot perform. I think it's a very serious problem, which for me, I'm right now at the moment is raising concerns, because take, for instance, when Nigeria was one, you didn't, when you didn't mind whether someone was from the north or south, whether he was a Christian or Muslim, whether he had a religion or not, we wanted everybody to benefit from Nigeria, and so people were getting placements not because of their regional, where the region they come from or whatever, and Nigeria was one we were enjoying the benefits of being together. However, today you say that you must provide an indigent form, or you must provide a certificate or whatever. Therefore, some of us have multiple indigent forms. Either I have an indigent form for the north and for the south, so that in case wherever I go to. So it's not just about the certificates in school, but then the system, the entire system is saturated. There are issues. But coming back to the main issue, that you are trying to draw, yes, people now glorify certificates because that's what they use, either for promotion or for, well, so that you can make a step, you can move a step further. So largely because we have many certificates now. We have many people that have gone to school. We have many, even though we have many out of school, we have many that have gone to school compared to the supply side. There's a dearth. So these are the things that are being used to either weed out because of the number of people or whatever. So people can go out of their way, largely because, again, we have lost our sense of thinking, even as human beings. Let me stop at that.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned something, and I want you to lay some emphasis on that. That before, it's not about your affiliation to a particular region or a religion. You are being identified as an individual for your capacity to deliver, your capacity to make a change, to solve problems, to think critically. Yes. And we see that in those times, you were actually promoted or appreciated or celebrated for actually what you do, not necessarily the certificate you have. So how can we as a nation, within our education sector, go back to that place where we are laying emphasis on critical thinking, problem solving, the individual, him or herself, contributing to the development of the nation?
Yeah, I think where we're coming from, our colonial masters might not have done us well, let me put it that way, or those that took over from our colonial masters got it wrong, because I come from a different system. I had a different system of learning, and that shaped my own way of thinking. I went to a school where in the late 70s, early 80s, where you were not graded, and where you were not giving positions first, second, or third in the class. You're either giving A, B, C, or D, and you were graded based on your peculiarity, not comparing you with others. And yes, and I think that gave me a different a different approach to life. However, I do not know where we got it wrong, that the Nigerian system sees it differently. It's a competition now. My child is first, my child is second, my child is becoming first throughout the semester or whatever. So the way you do it to get the first or second or whatever is again another issue altogether, because now you are struggling to get a position, not that you are learning to absorb the thing and see how you will use it to better your country or your society. So we're not teaching our children beyond the scheme that they're giving for that term, so that they can pass, and then come back home with good grades. I think if we start thinking differently, and I don't know how we get it right, but then when you look at the American system of learning, I think for me it's one of the best. And I had kids. My kids went through such a system where you learn at your pace. You learn at your pace, not you competing with others. I have a friend who left this country for the UK. His kids were let's say age 6, 8, and 10. The age 6 was already in primary 2. Age 8 was already in primary 3 or 4. And when he got to the UK, they were like, no. Based on their ages, they cannot be in these classes. My daughter was promoted to another class, and I called the attention. I said, no, please allow her to just go through the notes. She keeps coming first every time. We can't continue like that. She's better than the others. I said, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I think the way we think in this country, what we are looking at is not really, we're not placing the horse before the cart, or we are just about moving the kids, let them finish the class based on our curriculum, which is also faulty, but not looking at other parameters within the education. So it's worrisome. There's no single solution to these problems, because these problems are multifaceted.
Yes.
Again, largely because of the peculiarity of our country. Nigeria is one big country with many issues. When you go to the north, the issues in the north are different from issues in the south or the west and whatever. So there's no single solution to these problems. While we're even struggling to get 18.5 million children to attend schools, formal schools, 18.5 million. So how many are in school really? And then are the schools available? I was in Bauchi lately for an assessment. 10 kilometers outside Bauchi, you see buildings, but they're not being used as schools. They're used as stores for the villagers, where they store their food items. And I had to stop by, take a snapshot of those buildings that are supposed to be classrooms. Now, how many qualified graduates will want to live in these villages where amenities are not available, and then coupled down with the security situation? So when you talk about getting qualified people who will do the right thing in terms of education, it's going to be a bit difficult. So we are working with what you have. Different regions have their different problems. I was in Maiduguri last week to enumerate out-of-school children, and the discussion was that for them, Islamic education is everything. How would they, and there's something about the Islamic religion, which goes on the Quran, the issues of al-Majid and whatever, though a lot of learned leaders now are condemning that you don't have to be on the streets begging and other things, but then those that are not educated are still working against that, because you still see those young children on the streets with their bulls and their Allah and whatever. Though probably in the course of the discussion, we will see how this government is trying to address that in a different way. But honestly, the issue of standards, the issue of competition, the issue of many of these issues that we raised are it's going to take some time in this country to address these things.
Wow. Yes, sir. You mentioned that the problem is actually multifaceted. We agree, but it's something that we still need to face. It's a brutal. We need to start speaking to ourselves.
Yes.
If we really want to move, we need to start speaking to ourselves about quality. We need to start speaking to ourselves about standards, minimum standards and quality that our educational system should have. So I want to ask you, sir, what are the important issues we must start talking about? We have another administration is coming in another 1 year, and we are going to have a different set of leadership across the nation.
Yes.
What are the things we should start looking at as a country in terms of the quality of our education, in terms of how our citizenry can benefit, even though the problems, we have a myriad of problems in the country itself, the way the country is structured. There are some salient issues that are just underlining that affect almost every sector in the country. But even within the context of those problems, what should we practically be discussing as a nation to move us from where we are to where we are supposed to be in terms of quality of education in the country?
Well, first of all, it has to do with the leadership, the person at the helm of affairs, knowing that, looking again that the education is on the concurrent list, which the federal government, the state government are both responsible for. However, the person in charge, the president in this case, if he has what it takes, the leadership skills, if he doesn't have to be educated, but if he has the leadership skills, considering what is happening in the global world, he will allow his subordinates, either his minister of education or the head of UBE, to chart a course for education. So the first thing I would talk about is the person in the helm of affairs. Today we have a President Buhari, who we cannot really say actually where what his pedigree is with regards to issues of education, but then he has led this country right from the 70s, and that's why I keep asking, where did we get it wrong? Because without even education, they were able to run the country at some point. So what has changed? Now, if President Buhari can appoint a minister who has a heart for the country, with the mandate of the people or the government, to do what is needful for education, I think it is the first step. Now, come to think of it, ASU has been on strike for months. Nobody's saying anything. Now, my question has been, if ASU's demands are not reasonable, they should be sanctioned. If government cannot sanction them, then there's a problem. But for the fact that government is even silent about it, then that means there's a problem. Government is not willing to solve that problem. So it tells you the mindset of the people in leadership. Now, I take you back to Goodluck Jonathan's time, when a lot was done on Almajiri project. Yes, so Wiki was everywhere across the country, building schools for Almajiri, the Almajiris. It's a kind of a transition from nomadic education to something in that direction. A lot was done in education at that time, but today you see that the story is different. So the person on top, up there, really matters. I take you again to the issue of UBEC. UBEC has a lot of funds meant to complement what states are doing. All you need to do as a state governor is design what you want with regards to, let's say, structures, infrastructure for schools, and then come up with your budget, and UBEC gives you 50%. Today, they said not up to half of the states are accessing the funds. There is a lot of money lying down there. Now, if there is a policy, if there is a law guiding that, I think governors will take it seriously. But most of our governors, and even are not taking it seriously. Largely, I think again, it's because of the people at the helm of affairs, because they are not serious about education. So for me, that is the key thing. I was in a discussion 2 weeks ago with some staff of Nigerian NERDC who are responsible for curriculum development. And they kept saying that for years, they never had a budget for the review of the curriculum. And I asked them, I said, how much really do you need for the review? You have budget to travel out for courses, you have budget for other things, but then you come back, you do not implement this. We have a very serious problem. And I tell you what, beyond the issue of who is our leader, I think the issue of corruption, which is endemic. And I said something, if I'm a leader today, if I happen to be in the helm of affairs, I'll make a law that if you touch education budget, you can see any other money, but don't touch education money. That will call for capital punishment. Unless we do that, we will have issues. There's nothing you can do at the moment. There's nothing you can do down there to fix these problems if you don't fix the problem from the top, unless the president is serious about issues of education. And I give another example. We had a leader in the person of Professor Boguru in TED Fund. You need to see how he carried the work as if it was his father's job work. He made sure you could see that universities, you could see the change. There are a lot of lecturers now abroad who have gone to school. These are some of the things that you need to do to fix the system, to get these people trained in a good system. We have quite a number of lecturers right now in our universities abroad who have gone for training, courtesy TED Fund. So if you have the same kind of people thinking this way in putting good infrastructure, because infrastructure also matters in education, yes. Conducive learning environment. Yes. So if you have UBEC, somebody like that in UBEC, what do you think would be of this country? Thank God for people like Erufai, but then they have their own issues. He kept working on getting quality teachers. You need quality teachers, not just people that went through school or yes. people who brought certificates from where you don't know, who cannot defend their certificates. And that is why you keep having those assessments. That's what brought pre-JAM, or is it post-JAM? After you do a JAM, yes, you still have to go and prove that you are the one that did it, because we do not trust the system. So there's a lot, actually. There are a lot of issues. Just as I said, it's not you can't use a single bullet, but then we have to start somewhere. And I think it starts from the person in the helm of affairs, that we get a leader who is desirous of making that change in education. I was just come from Maiduguri. I could see that buildings, there were many buildings in the name of school buildings, schools. But I asked again, because I was excited that, Zulu, we've been hearing about him on TV and radio and what he's doing. But they said that they lack teachers. The buildings are there, but they lack teachers. I will tell you, he built schools. So education is a whole lot of things, a series of things. Apart from the hard infrastructure, you need the soft, where you need to train teachers. You need to get the children to come to school, and the children, they're not well fed, they cannot concentrate. So thus the homeschool feeding program again. So quite a number of things.
Yes. So I want us to speak to the curriculum. Okay. You mentioned earlier that the body responsible for reviewing the curriculum for the educational sector in Nigeria could not review because it said they don't have funds. And what should our policy makers, because sometimes I just get frustrated at the nonchalance that our leaders have towards education. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not the focus for them. They're not even thinking about it. But what should our government and policymakers be doing? What are the necessary adjustments, additions? What are the things they should do to make sure that our curriculum can deliver in the 21st century? Because if you look through some of the things that are being taught in our schools, they are moribund. These children cannot grow in this curriculum and be able to solve present pressing problems.
Yes.
And they can't compete internationally. That's why you find that well-meaning Nigerians that have the means don't allow their children to finish their schools here if they truly want them to become global citizens. And that's a failure to start with. So what can we, what should our policy makers focus on? Who are those that are supposed to be held responsible for
the truth is that
the curriculum?
You can't give what you don't have. You can't give what you don't have. What are the what's the line of thinking for these people in the helm of affairs, from the president to the senators to the House of Reps members, and to even those that are being appointed in offices? What is their line of thinking? What is the level of exposure? They keep what are the current issues being discussed in the National Assembly because of where we find ourselves today in this country? So a President Buhari, because of the level of his because of the level he has attained, cannot give you beyond what he has. Do they think education is necessary in the first place? Do they prioritize education? With all of these things, you can understand where we would be headed to. Because really, if you have a president who sees a nation, based on his bigger picture of a nation, a nation that would deliver, a nation that will be the let's say the giant of Africa. From his roadmap, you will see what he wants to achieve. We want a country that will build aircrafts. We have a country that will design their refinery and manage their refinery. A country that will do this and this. But you know what? Largely beyond the thinking of the leader, the issues that bedevil this country, the corruption issue. We do not even want our people here to be trained to that level. So we would want to import Indians. We want to import Chinese. We want to import people from South Africa to do menial things that we should be able to do. So based on that, we do not even want to work on our curriculum to help our children to attain that level so that they can do it themselves. Or is it that we don't believe in ourselves as a country? Because we are Black, nothing good comes out of a Black man. Now, think about it. Go to the US, go to the UK, you see a lot of Nigerian doctors. You see a lot of Nigerian engineers. We even brought some back to the country. Jelani is back to Nigeria, the guy that designed the first electric car in the US, to head the Nigerian Automotive Development Commission. What is he doing? He went, Nigeria didn't train him, but he went out there, he got the knowledge, came here. Instead of using these guys in the classroom here or asking him to help us develop our curriculum to meet those standards. We have them, but this is not a priority. I was speaking with somebody who works with NERDC, and when I listened to the conversation, his own way of thinking, where he comes from, he doesn't believe in the country Nigeria. He doesn't believe that we can attain these things. Yes, we design those curriculums. Somebody is not willing to give the money for the modular laboratories. You can't have good laboratories. Somebody is not willing to let power go around the country so that children can use those tools or kits in their school, in their labs to weld or whatever. There are issues, just as I said. The issues are very rife, But then it must start from up there. Getting a person who has a good sense of thinking for the country. We have other people. We have people who come into the country to bridge that gap, but they are not allowed to thrive. Take, for instance, you go on Airport Road, you have Skills G Center. Go to Skills G Center and see what is happening. People who can build drones and whatever. But the cost of running things in Nigeria is another thing. The cost. If you run an organization today, you need 247 light. NEPA, PHCN doesn't provide the light. You have to buy diesel. How much is diesel today?
Very expensive.
So there are a lot of things. But as I kept saying, I pray that we get a leader in the coming days, the new people that will emerge, who has the interest of the nation at heart, who knows that Nigeria has potentials, who knows that if we touch the right button, things will change. So I'll start from improving on the curriculum, making it, looking at the global happenings in the global world, what's happening. Do you know that there are people that read pilots, pilots, they are back to the country and they're driving, they're doing Uber. I don't know if you know that. There are many of them. There are many who, after returning, the Nigerian government tried to absorb them as pilots for the Nigerian police, who have helicopters, but the helicopters don't even fly, and so they're not even being paid. These are the new technologies. Really, we have the Nigerian Aviation Institute here in Zaria. They don't recruit new students because even when you graduate, you can't even fly.
Fly.
How many aircraft do you have in the country? So what really, when our kids tell us that they want to read these courses, we get worried. I have a son here who reads software engineering, and I've been worried, what would he do with software engineering in Nigeria? I've been thinking about it. These are emerging fields that Nigeria should tap into if things are really working. So to ask that our curriculum be reviewed to meet global standards, will the people out there hire labor from Nigeria? Or will Nigeria improve to a point that these people can apply these knowledge? These are questions that we need to ask. Yes, our curriculum it doesn't meet expectation. It doesn't at all, and that's why there's a very wide gap between the kids in the rural areas and those in the urban areas. There's a very wide gap. The kids in the rural area do not have these opportunities. While those in the city here have laptops, I have my nephews, my nephews and my nieces who just live a few kilometers out of the city, but they don't even have access to a laptop. They don't have access to light. I visited them a few months ago. They said for over 2 months they didn't see light in their way. So their way of thinking, and then their schools cannot operate the same way with the schools here in Abuja. And I tell you what, just go to just walk a little distance out of Buhari. You see that the kids don't have the opportunities that the kids here inside Abuja do have. And when you come here and you tap into that knowledge, you go out there, you can't even use it.
Quite unfortunate, and that's why. Like you said, there's something you mentioned, and I think it's a critical conversation. What is the roadmap? If you want to, as a nation, do we even have a vision to say this is where we are going in the next 30 years? I know
I have not seen one, apart from the SDG goals that we keep talking about. Yes,
that you can pick up and say, yes, this is the direction of our nation. And this is the path, the components. This is what education has to play. This is the agenda that this administration has for education and the citizens in the next 20, 30 years.
Not at all.
Do we arrive at a destination we did not prepare or plan for?
Well, that's why I'm hopeful that when we have a change in government, there will be a change in the whole because I do not think that this government in the past 7 years has done anything remarkable, and if they would do anything, I doubt if anything will change in the few months that is left, because the only thing we talk about really is the SDGs. And when you look at the SDGs critically, is to ensure free, quality, and inclusive education. We kept saying, yes, we've achieved free to some extent for 9 years. But the SDG talks about 12 years of free education. 12 years. We have not even done the 9 years effectively.
9 years successfully.
Yes, and we've gone half into the SDGs. Now, if you talk of quality, which we are talking about now, in terms of the curriculum should be able to address that. What really have we done? When NERDC is telling you that for years they didn't have a budget to review the curriculum. Now, I stumbled into the out of school curriculum. I don't know if you have seen it, but it was just launched a few weeks ago. It was championed by Plan. I cried for Nigeria when I saw it, because we should have gone beyond this. This is not what we should be talking about. I have some copies with me, and I looked at it. Is this where Nigeria has gone beyond this? But this is what we're talking about, largely because of the leadership we have today in the country. So there's a lot to be desired, really. With regards to the issue of a plan for education, we have many policy documents, but to see that there's a single plan that Nigeria will get to this certain destination in this, I doubt if there is. Most of our universities are closed. So what plans do you really have for a country that the universities have been closed?
Exactly.
And then education is very expensive in terms of, if you're sending your child to a private university, be ready. Yeah, considering the economic situation of the country, be ready to pay through your nose. We have our kids in our private university. You know what it takes to get them to go through the system. And then the curriculum that, just as I told you, we have kids reading software engineering. Where would they fit into the Nigerian system? We're worried about it. So some of the private universities have gone ahead, of government, and some of them are coming from government, and I don't know why they are not bringing that to the table in government, but they're doing it for themselves. So you are creating a workforce that will not fit into the system. Everybody is wanting to work for government. Everybody wants to, and you see a graduate of engineering working as an administrator. It's worrisome. It's worrisome because that's what Nigeria is designed to be. How many of our refineries are working? How much has been spent on our refineries? Think about it. This is where you can put a chunk of these people that you're talking about, these new learning. Like, you don't have to import people from abroad. How many of our airports are really working the way they should? How many of our hospitals are made up to standard where you import digital tools where you need these guys to come and work? To work. All these things are not working. So you are preparing a people for a system that is already to absorb them. I tell you what, I have a professor in my family who doesn't have a laptop. He lectures in the university right now. When you talk about technology, he says no. He doesn't use an ATM card. Once he's paid, he mops up his funds from the bank and keeps it at home. A professor in the university. What will such a person teach students? Now, some years down the line, I took a device to one of the government agencies where you clock in using your fingerprint. You use a card and a fingerprint. And the director called his audience and said, wow, look at this exciting idea. What do you think? We get our staff to clock in. Someone said, wow, this is good, but I will not sign for what will kill me. Nigerians are not ready for change. They prefer come and sign in a book so you can sign against the next day. We deliberately frustrate change. We deliberately frustrate. So working on our curriculum might not change things. And that's why we're doing a backwards review. We're going back to designing curriculum that will attend to out of school issues. And when you see it, it's disappointing. I don't think it will meet the test of time. That's where we are. Wow. That's where we are.
We can't exhaust this in
Not
one season. Not at all. And that's why I would just love us to move to the next question. There's been a lot of focus on girl-child education, a lot of emphasis on how that the girl child has been marginalized over the years. And you see a lot of effort, a lot of projects get towards making sure that there's increase in enrollment of the girl child in education, and to see that they actually complete. And it looks as if it's skewed, because now we're in a society where it looks as if we're having the results we desire in terms of girl child education. Then it looks like as if the boys are being neglected. And it's, a lot of issues are coming out as a result of that. What can the society do to create a balance? And what is the importance? Why should we create that balance?
Very important. It's just like the issue of gender, even in workplaces and other things. When we start something in this country, we have a problem with understanding when change should come and where we should, just as the word you use, balance. I told somebody, I said, I'm afraid that very soon men will start asking for gender equality, because it looks like, yes, we are achieving the women, whatever, in some regards. Actually, at some point, the girl child has been neglected in the country. And looking at the peculiarity of our regions, I come from the northern region where girls' education is not prioritized. Even though we lived in the city, my father was asking my sister to quickly get married, because that's my culture. So the issue of culture, the issue of religion has really affected the girl child's education in Nigeria. That's for the north. Going to the south, they have their own peculiarity, they have their own issues. But again, poverty has also contributed, and that's why we talked about the free education, so that people will not complain that because of resources they cannot send their kids to school. However, you must find a balance. Otherwise, we will get into a serious problem, and we're already seeing the problem. When a lady is educated, a man gets intimidated to even approach her if he's not within her level.
Yes.
And that affects the norms in the society. cultural norms and all whatnot. I know that many ladies, many women do not go beyond the level of their education before getting married. Once they get married, the husband does not, except if you have a man who is also thinking, who is forward thinking, he does not allow them to go beyond him educationally. And interestingly, women do better in school. I don't know why, but I know that women do better. I met my wife in school; she was better than me, and even right now, educationally, she takes it very seriously, and that's why I think the kids are also doing well, because my wife is educated, and so the kids are doing well. And I see that even the female are more serious about things about school than even the boy child. The boy child. Yes, I do not have the statistics. I do not know where we are today with regards to achieving the girl child education, but I think we still have a lot to do. But basically, why we cannot say we cannot say there's a problem at the moment is because there's a dearth in number of or in number of schools. There are many children that cannot have access to schools because there are no schools at the moment.
Yes.
So if there are more schools that can absorb those kids, probably we can say yes, But let me also shock you to say that if you live in communities, for me, I live in a community where there are more northerners. Honestly, their girls still don't go to school. Their girls still don't go to school. For the South, I think it's different. Southerners, both girls and boys are educated, but for the North, we still have a serious challenge that we cannot say we are there. The few Northerners that are there, you could see they do exceptionally well. I can talk of both of people like Hajia Mariam Weiss and many other women in government who are doing exceptionally well, educated women, but I won't say we are there. A lot is to be done with regards to providing to access to education, because as it is right now, I told you I was just coming from a monitoring in Bauchi. I was in Gombe too, and lately in Maiduguri. A lot needs to be done in terms of providing infrastructure, school classrooms, and because many children are still out of school, so we cannot say that there's no balance. But let me also say that if the boy child is not educated, there's going to be a very serious problem in the society, because no matter what a woman does, if the husband does not accept her training the kids, she cannot go to school. And if you do not have an education, you cannot see the value in education. You cannot see the value. Therefore, a lot needs to be done in getting both the boys and girls in school.
It's important, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we're seeing a trend, because we do more community work. We're seeing
Mm-hmm.
a trend recently among boys because of this emergence of internet fraud related.
Certainly.
Yes, young men.
Mm.
You realize that it's more of young boys,
18,
young
19,
men,
20,
18,
21.
19, 16,
Very unfortunate.
that
Very
unfortunately, getting involved in this. And, recently we took a on arrest by the EFCC, and we realized that many that are 15, 14, that they forced to drop out of school, that they are more of being mentored by these boys because they see them drive flashy cars, spend money in clubs, have access to this fraudulent wealth. And so I want to ask, what is the role? Because now you say, okay, yes, some of them actually went to school and dropped out. They believe that the society has painted a picture that money is important than values, that even if you go through the education, you are not assured of a job when you are done. So they feel education is a scam. Whatever they want to do to make sure that they get the attention and the affluence that comes with money, having money in your bank account or in your pocket, they want to do it. So what should what should we be doing as the people, parents, all stakeholders, to make sure that we correct this wrong narrative?
This goes back to the issue of our values, the values we hold in the society. And again, that's why I said, depending on who is in government. During the Goodluck Jonathan era, I remember we had a minister for values and ethics in the person of Sarah Jibril. Today, I do not know what government is saying about moral values, but I remember again during the NSAS, what the Northerners were saying, that they do not have issues of Yahoo in the North, so they don't have a problem with SARS, because SARS were targeting the Yahoo boys actually in the South. Now, so there are peculiarities, actually, regional peculiarities, just as you have banditry and kidnapping in the North, which also you have a little of it in the South. These Yahoo things seem to be prominent in the South. Just yesterday, some friends visited me and told me that here in Sunnyvale, SARS raided a certain property where young people were found doing this Yahoo thing. It's rather unfortunate. I can also tell you that it's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's a global issue. You go to Ghana, you find these issues. You go to the US, you find these issues. Actually, it emanated from the US, but the way we do our own here, and it's unfortunate that you find Nigerians and Africans in these developed countries actually doing these things. The hush puppy issue where Abakari is in prison now. Is Abakari an illiterate? Is he a dropout? Now, you find out that these guys are linked to people that are educated. They use them to do this. I was in the bank doing a transaction, opening an account for my son. Barely 5 minutes into that, my son got a call with inside the bank asking him to give them his ATM card number. 5 minutes from when I opened an account for him. And I just told the cashier, I said, see what's happening. He said, yes, insiders, there are bankers that are involved. So yes, it's not largely the uneducated, but they are the ones that are being used. They're being taught on how to use this technology to do this. It's rather unfortunate that, just as I said again, our laws are not strengthened. If UBE Act, which states that education is mandatory for primary 1 to 9, it's there in the act, and that if you don't send your child to school, you get penalized. There's a fee for that. If these laws are being implemented to the latter, it will reduce some of these things. It will check some of these things. Because what does a 14-year-old child have to do with fending for himself, even not because of where we find ourselves in the society? You ask questions if you see a 20-year-old child, person spending money. But today, all these pops and whatever are meant for them. The owners of the pub will not ask them where they got the money from. All they care is come and spend money. That is it. So there have to be some strong laws that will check all these things. If a person of Abakari's level is found in this kind of thing, then what hope do we have for this station? These are the people that are expected to check the system, to check these things from happening. But they are found doing this. And then to shock you, there are many teachers, many people who had a very good education, spent a better part of their life in, coming from good homes, that now find themselves competing with younger children in school. A 21-year, sorry, not even 21, an 18-year-old child driving a car to a private university like Nile or Bayes. And then here is a teacher who went through school at 30, cannot even afford to buy a car. Now he starts glorifying this young boy. He starts seeing this young boy as a champion, not a mentor, but as a champion. And then you now start seeing them doing things that you cannot explain. Now this teacher cannot talk to this young boy if he's doing anything bad. He can't. He cannot check this young boy if he's doing anything wrong. So you now find them joining heads and doing things that they ought not to do together. Now, this is a discussion for another time. It's difficult in this kind of society that we are today to find people doing the right thing because we do not, because of values, because of our value system. And because our parents are not there. Us parents, we're not there to watch our kids, to check what they do. The internet is there for them. They can learn so many things on the internet. We watch so many TV programs today, which shows them how to get away with bad things.
Yes.
Where did they learn this kidnapping? Many of them things we see them on TV. Instead of learning lessons from these things, they go back and do the things. You know, there are many issues that you know that we can discuss here. But then, honestly, coming back to the discussion, you know, it's good. It will take the grace of God to have a good system when the leader up there does not have a good plan for the country. That's it. That's it.
So it's taking us back to everything rises and falls on leadership.
Leadership.
Leadership is critical.
Very
so
true.
as we're going towards the next general election, we must get it right. If we're going to, if things are going to fall in place, if we're going to have critical changes in different sectors of the country, then we must get it right at the place of, you know, recruiting our leaders. That's important. Thank you very much, sir. So before we let you go, Mr. Abdul, I want to ask you lastly, what can parents, guardians do practically? You mentioned some of them when you were speaking earlier, that, you know, censoring the access we give to our children, to the internet, to movies, to cable networks and all, it's important, because you might think their level of understanding, you know, might not be able to comprehend picking the good lessons out of some of the things that they are being shown. So what else? What are the other things that we feel we should be doing as stakeholders? Because parents are critical stakeholders, guardians are critical stakeholders in this process. What should parents and guardians be doing actively to make sure we raise a generation that can lead this country in the future?
Thank you very much. This is very, very important. I think there's a missing link. We are missing in our children's lives today. You can be in the same building. The dad is in one room, the mother in another room, the children in another room. You know, probably if you have a house up or whatever, you know, they might be the ones to check on the kids. Until we involve ourselves with what these kids are doing, it's going to be a serious problem. Parents are out there working very hard to make ends meet. The work hours are between 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock. You have to leave early if you're in Abuja or Lagos or Port Harcourt. And what time do you come back home? When you come back home, you have extracurricular activities to do. So this generation of children do not have that bond. You know, so sometimes you can be in the same environment with your parents, but for 2-3 days you don't see them. I have to call my son 10 times a day to come outside. We can be together in the sitting room. It's difficult. He has his laptop in his room. He has his phone. He has connected to the internet. He feels comfortable being alone. He wants his space. This is where we have found ourselves. When you come to the other side, where poverty makes it such that you live in one room. You can't wait for the morning for the kids to go out and just hang out where they will. Some are there in the mosque, some are there in the parks, some are there wherever they can find a place where they can just be comfortable. And what they learn out there is left to those people they meet out there, to the society. So until we are involved fully in our children's lives, it's going to be difficult. That's number one. Number two, we must show concern on issues, relating to education, relating to their lives. Otherwise, they will meet with any other person who is willing to tell them what they want to hear. You must be concerned. It's either good for their PTA meetings, taking them to school yourself, taking them out during the holidays. You must create a life for them, the kind of life you want. Otherwise, it's going to be, we won't get it right. There are quite a number of things that as parents actually is required of us. We can't leave everything to the teachers. We can't leave everything to the government. We keep blaming teachers and government for failure in society, especially with regards to our kids. But then where were we? You can't tell me that your child has been raped severally 4 or 5 times and you never noticed it. Something must be wrong. You cannot tell me that your child is being wooed by a gang, for 2-3 weeks and you didn't notice a difference. If you're doing what you're supposed to do. So we can't leave everything absolutely to people outside. Even in the religious places, whether the church or the mosque, you cannot trust anybody. A lot of kids I know were introduced to homosexuality in the church. A lot of kids were introduced to drugs in the church from other kids, from other bad kids. The same thing happens in the mosque. We've seen it on TV where rape takes place between a learner in the mosque. And, so parents must assume their rightful place. Otherwise, we will get it right. And then we need to prioritize things. What should a child be doing age 1 to age 12, 13 to 15? What should a child be doing? You cannot tell a child of age 6 to start looking for money because things are difficult. You can't start telling a child at age 10 to start looking for a husband. Her mindset, her brain is all wired that way, to start thinking in that direction. So we need to set a calendar for these children. I sit with my kids and I tell them, my daughter will say, oh, Dad, at age 17, that means I'll be in university. I say, yes, you'll be in university and in 4 years you should be done, and then go for NYC, and then you go for, we set a calendar that is ideal for them. Otherwise, they will think for themselves. And that is why the issue of a 14-year or 15-year-old doing Yahoo. Now, it might not be because it might not be because he is thinking that he wants to be rich. No. It's because there's nobody to tell him the other side of life. The person that's available for him is this one that's teaching him how to do Yahoo. What would a 14-year-old really do with money? Even a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old finds it difficult to spend money the way he should. So that is it. We have a lot of young people in Abuja. I see them driving flashy cars. I wonder, some of them, it might be their parents, but some others, you cannot really tell. It's so unfortunate that the society has placed us in this regard. I know many people that send their kids to school and never turn back to check. Once you drop them in school, you never tell them, what is happening? Yeah, they're in school, so let them take care of themselves. I hear my friends say, allow your kids to be streetwise. I say, what do you mean by streetwise? In today's Nigeria, I think it's dangerous. It's dangerous. So we need to create time for them. We need to be part of their lives, and we need to also show them the way.
Thank you so very much, sir. I believe parents, you've heard the counsel from our dear guests. We need to be involved in our children. We can't continue to blame the teachers and the government. We need to be there for them. We need to set the calendar, remind them that there are milestones in their lives and there are things they must do and accomplish to become a well-meaning citizen of the country. Thank you so very much, Mr. Abdullahi Sale, for your time on Education in Focus with us, Africa Sale Foundation. We are delighted to have you, and thank you for sharing so much with us today. A lot of thinking points, a lot for stakeholders, citizens to take on board. We have the responsibility of recruiting the right leaders, forward-thinking leaders that are concerned about the different sectors of our country, that wants this country to move in the direction of progress and development. It's important for us and we'll benefit from it if we do it right. Thank you very much, sir, for spending your morning with us here, and we ask that you have a pleasant day. And for everyone that joined us, we want to say thank you very much for listening in and for also watching. And until we come your way on and bring you another guest on Education in Focus, I'm the Executive Director of Africa Sale Foundation, Omolara Adedeji. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much.